I'm Kelly McNeil, and my occupation is I'm a wildlife artist, and I have a studio here at Beaux-Arts Brampton, and I teach and I paint wildlife, and I show internationally. I've got 4 kids, and what else did you want?
Brampton wildlife artist Kelly McNeil has been a patron of art since childhood. Painting professionally for over 20 years, the mother of 4 has made quite the name for herself in both the Brampton art scene and wildlife art circles around the world. Often we hear about the struggles that accompany the artist's lifestyle, but how much does that differ when you add 20 years of raising children to the mix? She invited me to her studio at Boa Arts Gallery in downtown Brampton to share what her years of experience has taught her and what she admires the most about her life.
I've had the studio for 10 years. I've been doing wildlife for 10 years. I've been painting all my life. I have a college, now university education in art, and so I did some commercial art for 10 years. Has started having babies, staying at home, doing commissions, and I've really been enjoying the last 10 years here in my studio.
When did you realize art was going to be your life?
When I was about 5. That's all I ever did.
Did you do a lot of painting as a child, or a lot of coloring, or what was it mostly?
The Flintstones coloring books. Doodle art, remember that in the 60s? And I drew a lot. Like kids today are doing anime, and I did Archie comics.
So you have 4 children, all ranging in age. What was it like when you had your first compared to now that they're all pretty much, almost grown up?
Well, when I first had them, I didn't really paint a lot because I was busy. And it wasn't until my last child was in junior kindergarten that I got my studio. And it was great because I'd get the kids off to school. I would get this other last one up and dress them, bring them in here and put them on the couch and keep them asleep. I knew how to do that. And then at 11 o'clock, I would wake him up, put on a video, Winnie the Pooh, feed him. He would come in here and draw with me till about 1 o'clock. And I would take off to take him to the bus stop, and then come back till 3 o'clock. And then I'd go home, pick up my kids, and if any of the kids were ever sick, they could come in here. I had a couch in the other room, so I never had to stop and stay at home. It's just like, okay, get this bucket. You're coming to work with me.
At any point, did you have to adapt your lifestyle in order to paint?
No, I don't really know what that means. I do know that it was really good to be able to be at home and to be at their beck and call if I needed to speak to a teacher, or like I said, if they were sick. Worst case scenario, I did have somebody sick for a couple of months, I could stay home. I could paint from home. I had a studio at home too. So I was constantly working and juggling my kids, but a more demanding job, I might not have been able to do that.
Is it like at one point you had teenagers and children?
Yeah.
Was that a difficult point?
Well, my oldest daughter was known as Mom, and I was Mommy. She was really great, and they loved her. So as soon as she was old enough to babysit, I was set. Actually, that's when it all started. When she was 12, and I started using her as a babysitter.
Back before you actually began, you actually had your own career before that, was your idea of being a full-time artist what it really is?
Yeah, this is my dream. Having a studio like this, having a gallery outside and a working spot in here, being surrounded by other artists, and having my schedule my own to control, and traveling, is everything that I wanted.
What would you say is the hardest thing about being an artist and a mom? Like travel, there's, you don't really have a schedule, but at the same point you have said that's been advantageous, right?
Yeah, the travel's great. Like, I'm not complaining about the travel. And I've been able to drag my kids around, so they've had some experiences that other kids wouldn't have had. The hardest thing is for them to understand that my money comes and goes. And that's the hardest thing right now. It's like they think I'm lying, that I've got some kind of a stash, you know. And because when I do have a lot of money, it's all right, let's go, we're buying clothes. And what did you want? You wanted this video game, you needed this for your computer. And mommy's doing great. And other times, like maybe right now, it's like, you know, shut up, there's enough food in the house, just make yourself a sandwich. And you're going to have to give me till next week. And sometimes they don't believe that, like, the summer is a bit of a struggle for a lot of artists. I know musicians, same thing. The students kind of fall off because they're taken off for the summer, and things start up again in September. So unless I have a lot of sales in the summer, July was great, August wasn't so great, it can be a bit of a struggle point. And sometimes the kids just don't understand that.
So, what's an average day like for Kelly McNeil?
Okay, I start screaming and yelling at them around 7:30 to get up. Yeah, my boys don't like to really get up, but I get them up and chase them out the door and off to school. And then I dash over to my studio, and I either get to paint or I'm teaching. So.
And what do you enjoy more, teaching or painting on your own?
Oh, it's hard to say because I've really grown to love the teaching. Like my students are become my friends. They become members of Beaux-Arts. They become on the board of Beaux-Arts. And I travel with some of them. Like it's, you know, so it's that socialization and being surrounded by artists is great. And but I love my painting. So it's you know, what obviously I want to paint, but the teaching has been a blessing in on the side.
Are your kids themselves interested in art, or maybe, you know, different types of art?
My oldest daughter's in media art. She works for CTV, and she's the social media queen. And they really love her there. She's doing really good. My youngest daughter loves art also, but she's going to be a horticulturalist.
Oh.
And my oldest son can draw, but has decided not to do it now in this part of his life. And my younger son, I wouldn't think so, but Tanya tells me he's a YouTube king. He's putting together videos and splicing things together, and but it's like with the computer angle, you know. The kids are more playing with the computer than I did.
What advice would you give to maybe, you know, male or female, if they're getting into a creative career such as painting or even music, and if they still have the ambition to have kids? What would you say to them to prepare them for that?
Go ahead and do it, because it's a great way to have an income and do something you absolutely love and be there for your children. It's hard. It's a hard struggle. We read an article a couple of years ago where the average artist makes $25,000 a year. The average artist is more educated than the average Canadian public. We're not getting the value that we really should be in our art, but because we love it, there's not a lot of complaints. And hopefully one day we will get that value, but until then, it's just very fulfilling. It's extremely fulfilling. And my daughter sold a photograph in a show here, and she goes, "Is this how you feel, Mommy?" Because it was a stranger that bought it. Like, she just was so filled with pride. And you know, you get those feelings also, like when the people stop you in the street and say, "I know you, I've seen you somewhere," you know, maybe on a program like this, or maybe in the front of the newspaper, or you know, my name is getting known around the place, around the world, really.
Where are some of the furthest places you've traveled to sell your art?
I've been in a show in Georgia. I go every year to South Carolina to it's a SUI. It's called the Southeastern Wildlife Expo. It's the biggest wildlife show in North America. And I go to Buckhorn in Canada. But my paintings have gone to Tasmania, where I've won awards and sold paintings.